Hi, I'm Dr. Amelia Peterson and I'm the MBA Program Director at the London Interdisciplinary School. So this is an MBA really designed for people who are at that mid-career stage where they're starting to see the complexity of the work that they're involved in. They've really got to grips with their sector, with their organization, and they're starting to think about, okay, how can I really make our direction something that is going to be resilient, purposeful, productive, efficient, meaningful over the next decade of my career. So they're really looking to kind of expand their own horizons about what their work can mean, what they can achieve. And when we were looking at the kind of existing format of MBA programs, it seemed like they were still sort of too much focused on an existing status quo of what the business environment is. We wanted to open that out and give people a program where they could really explore, okay, what is the business environment? How is it changing? How is it shifting? And therefore plan the next phase of their career in relation to what's coming, not what's been. Systems thinking has been central to the LIS MBA because it's something that over the course of our journey as a university, we just hear again and again, there is no real provision for it in the higher education sector. And yet it is core to understanding organizations and also how organizations can have impact in their wider environment. It's about understanding how things connect and being able to zoom out and see the whole, as well as zoom in and understand the real implications of any decision you're taking, strategy you're developing, tactic you're undergoing. We've focused the LIS MBA around these kind of 6 major shifts that businesses are going through around things like intelligence. We're thinking about AI and collective intelligence, energy, the energy transition, but also human energy management. And all of these are kinds of challenges that are built by complexity. So they have this nature where we have to understand the different parts of them and how those connect, how action in one place can have implications for somewhere else. And so we're focused on really trying to piece together the big picture of what it is that organizations are working in so that people can understand the wider implications of their decision, but also kind of spot new opportunities for where perhaps the work they've been doing can evolve, can adapt as their environment is changing. So the MBA is an amazing opportunity to take time and space to learn new things. But particularly in the current world of work, we recognize that it's difficult for people to take a whole full year or even 2 years out from work. One of the kind of key pieces of feedback we had was people really wanted a hybrid program, a part-time program that was also really intellectually rigorous and challenging. And so that's what we tried to create with the LIS MBA, something that has those standards and that opportunity for real deep, rigorous learning of a full-time MBA, but that can fit around people's existing work, and meaning they're not having to take time out from their jobs, not having to leave jobs, and then therefore still able to support themselves while going through it. One of the key things that we wanted to do with the LIS MBA was really make sure that people are able to get to grips with the complexity of the real kinds of situations that are facing organizations now. The business environment is changing so rapidly. Something written up today may be irrelevant in a year's time. And so we've created a pedagogical model where we've got people coming into the classroom, into the virtual classroom, bringing the latest version of what do these shifts around AI, around trust, around energy, around longevity, what do they mean to them right now? And therefore the conversation, the learning is focused around how is something unfolding right now for organizations with the kind of very latest sense of what's happening in technology, what's happening in geopolitics, what's happening within organizations in terms of the kind of the human relationships going on. So what people are learning how to do is how to pass all of that complexity, having that modeled by the faculty, having that modeled by external experts. And so they're learning how to make sense of complexity as part of their day-to-day learning, as opposed to learning how to kind of crack a pre-written case. So the LIS MBA is built around these 6 shifts: complexity, intelligence, energy, ecosystems, trust, and longevity. And all of these are things which businesses are really having to get to grips with and in different ways. So all of them have implications for kind of how the wider environment is changing, the energy transition, the shift to electrification, AI, the shift to more and more organizations becoming kind of AI embedded in their work, trust, the changing views on, okay, well, what kind of institutions in society are trusted? What does it mean for a brand to be trusted? What do brands have to do to continue to be trusted? But all of them also have internal implications. So as an organization, what does it mean to maintain the trust of your employees? What does it mean to maintain and manage the energy of your teams and people? What does it mean to really try and foster different kinds of intelligence as an organization, and how to design yourself to optimize for intelligence? So each of these shifts are things which we need to get to grips with in terms of what they mean for the external environment, but also how can we use them to better design organizations, to better think about our ways of working, and ultimately kind of what management can mean over the next few decades. The LIS MBA is really focused on kind of looking forward and trying to understand the business world that's emerging. There's so much change in the assumptions, in the goals, in what it means to be a good business. We've created a program that is allowing people to have the space to sort of explore that and to really kind of find new ways to define, like, what is value going to mean for my organization, and really sort of dig into the complexity of that. There are no real good answers to those questions now. So we think that the right kind of MBA model is one that creates those spaces to define new answers for given sectors, for given sizes of organization. But to do that, we also have to look backwards and draw on the kind of very best existing knowledge. And as an interdisciplinary institution, as an arts and sciences institution, we think that means going beyond the kind of core disciplines of business and management, and also looking to, okay, across the breadth of the arts and sciences, what is the knowledge we can draw on to understand how can we create value in the new environments that we find ourselves in. So the LIS MBA is really for anybody who is looking around them in work and thinking, okay, is this all there is? What else is out there? So for people who really want to focus on how to ask the right questions, ask the big questions, but want to work out how to do that in a strategic and meaningful way. So not in a kind of daydreamy blue sky way, but in a way that understands the real constraints that organizations work with. So to strengthen their understanding of business, of finance, of accounting, of governance, but also to strengthen their understanding of the ecological, the technical, the social environment that their organization is working in. So for anybody who's kind of lifting their head up from their laptop and thinking, how could I do this work differently? What are the skills? What's the knowledge I need to really be able to do this work a bit differently? This is the program for you. A big part of the LIS MBA is what we call the inner shift. So as well as focusing on how the wider environment and the organizational environment is changing, we're really focused on, well, what does it take for a person to change? And that's a very personal journey, depending on who you are, on what context you're working in, it's going to look different. And so we've created something that's really sort of informed by adult development, informed by philosophy, informed by the arts, of, okay, what is the way that we can build different kinds of practices, build different habits for the sort of change that you want to see in yourself, how you want to develop, the kind of leader that you want to develop into, but really allowing that to be personalized for different people in the cohort. In terms of then, potentially job moves you might want to make, progressions you might want to make, at LIS, our futures department supports kind of career coaching in the more typical sense, but also networking across the wide range of sectors that we operate in. As an interdisciplinary institution, our network spreads across private sector, public, third sector, but also across a huge range of different kinds of focus, people who are working on different kinds of problem. We're based here in London. We have relationships with different kinds of network-based organizations here in London to allow you to really explore the kind of full range of new forms of working that are available now. But also we have great kind of international reach in the continents of the world. And we're really excited about welcoming a cohort that will represent some of that range. The founding cohort is so important to us. It's so important to us that they really represent the range and diversity of influence that we bring together in LIS. So we're really excited to see people coming through with kind of very strong academic backgrounds, people with PhDs, people who are serial entrepreneurs, people who come from fields such as design or the arts, but also people with really deep scientific knowledge. And what we love in our cohorts as we bring people together is people really having those breakthrough moments of seeing, wow, this is a whole different way of seeing the world that I'm getting from my peers, getting from my classmates, and therefore for themselves being able to just expand their lenses, become better at how they communicate, how they translate, how they think about, the kinds of impact one can have as a business professional. Something that tends to surprise people about our MBA is the cost. We've really thought hard about how you create an MBA that isn't incredibly expensive. We do look at the MBA market and get really concerned that this is something that is pricing out the diversity that's needed to kind of lead the next generation of organizations. And yet we understand that, great education is expensive. It is expensive to bring together a faculty who come from world-leading institutions like ours does. And so, with the hybrid model, with the way we've been able to create the program, we've managed to kind of strike that balance between still making sure, in every classroom that you're in, whether virtual or live, you have real world-leading experts, real business professionals with you there. But also it's something that, we think people really can realistically do alongside work. So, we are really excited about being able to bring that kind of offer to the MBA market. Really glad that people being drawn together to it are kind of our dream cohort.